this is exquisite design if you look at it from an engineering point of view. Because this is what I mean about the incompressible nature of the fluid. If you're going to push the fluid's got nowhere to go. So it has to press against something expandable, which is the round window here, which has another membrane on it, to compensate for the fact that the stirrup is moving against the oval window. It's details like that which show an engineer that there is something going on here which indicates design. But it now gets even deeper. We've only just begun the process of hearing. Because the cochlea is filled with fluid, and if we were to actually unravel that cochlea, in the middle of it, you saw it on this picture here, you have the basilar membrane. And the basilar membrane is going to vibrate depending on the motion of the fluid in the inner ear. So as I'm speaking, your ears are doing all this process and you don't realize it, in order to give you a signal in your brain. This is the exquisite nature of the mammalian ear. So this basilar membrane is a bit like an xylophone, and we're going to unravel that xylophone.
Cochlea now uncoils, and we look at the basilar membrane, and now see what happens when we play individual tones. Now a chord, and finally something really complex.
So as your ear is listening to the toccata and fugue there from Bach, it was actually literally playing those notes on an xylophone, which is the basilar membrane in the cochlea. How is that happening? Well, as the sloshing motion of the fluid takes place, depending on the frequency of the sound coming in through the hammer and the incus and the stirrup, that would excite particular frequencies which are then translated to that xylophone. But we haven't finished yet. Because all we've got at the moment is the motion of air going to mechanical motion of bones, going to sloshing motion of incompressible fluid, and we saw some interesting detail there, which has now vibrated a basilar membrane. But how do we get to hearing? Well, now we come to a most interesting area, because as this stirrup is moving, it's exciting frequencies which are in here, and it's causing that basilar membrane to vibrate, which causes those particular frequencies to be excited, which causes the basilar membrane to vibrate at that location, right? But as that vibration is taking place, there is yet another issue, which is a nerve which is going through the cochlea, and that nerve is going to take electrical signals. So how do you go from sloshing motion to electrical signals? This is where it gets very intricate. Attached to this basilar membrane, not what's shown there, but attached to the earlier picture of a basilar membrane, are actually tiny little hairs, such that when the motion is in one direction, a potential difference is set up chemically between two adjacent hairs, which then sends an electrical signal, because of the potential difference created, down to the auditory nerve, which then finally carries that electrical signal to the brain. I'm not going to pursue it further, but of course there's even more complication, because then you've got the issue of translating that electrical signal into hearing in the brain. I just wanted to go as far as showing you that there is such intricacy which indicates a design feature. Here's so this is the motion of the hairs, which I've just referred to. I just want to, sorry, I want to play this. This should be playing Here we are, yeah. So this is the basilar membrane, which is going to move across, and as it moves, right, it pushes those hairs over, which creates a potential difference. That potential difference then becomes an electrical signal, which goes to the brain. That then is how we hear. The force of the sloshing motion on these hairs and the basilar membrane moving across it actually creates this electrical signal. Now, what does the evolutionist say? Well, at the bottom of the page, in 293, in Richard Dawkins' book, The Greatest Show on Earth, which was written for children, he says he appreciates that there is a difference between the jaw of a mammal and the jaw of a reptile, but then he says the reptilian lower jaw is more complicated than that in mammals, and thereby hangs a fascinating tale that I reluctantly omitted from this book. In an amazing feat of evolutionary legerdemain, which, if you look under thesaurus, could be translated as magic, the smaller bones of the reptilian jaw were co-opted into the mammalian ear, where they constitute an exquisitely delicate bridge to transport sound from the eardrum to the inner ear. Now, what he's saying is that he admits that there is an exquisite delicate bridge, which of course I agree with him here, that is true. But he actually is trying to argue that the bones of a reptile, of the reptile jaw, actually moved gradually over millions of years and became those ossicle bones. In fact, this was stated recently by Brian Cox. And this is what he said in his program just a few weeks ago.
Has continued. Around 210 million years ago,